96 or tweet your thoughts at ESPN Lincoln.
Only from ESPN Lincoln, 101.5 FM and 1480 AM.
Welcome to it. It's a Real Red Reaction here. We're at the Single Barrel. Jeff Moats hunkered down in his Lincoln studios. Elijah Herbal at our ESPN Lincoln studios. And, fellas, you can't make this stuff up with Nebraska football, the Erie 2022 season. You start the fourth quarter, you're up 14-3. The football gods have given you every single break in this rock fight of a football game in cold temperatures, horrible weather, and not great offenses. And Graham Mertz goes John Wayne / John Elway from the 50 and puts the dagger and twists it about 7 times. Nebraska falling to Wisconsin 15-14. Numbers to get involved if you want to sound off here on Real Red Reaction, presented to you by Currency and Hail Varsity. 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. We are also streaming on different platforms for you, so you can watch the show on 96 Kicks Facebook, on KFOR Facebook, ESPN Lincoln Facebook and Twitter, KFOR Twitter, and the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed as well at H Varsity Radio. Show's also live on the YouTube channel for Real Red Reaction. Apparently 3 minutes before we went on, we were live. So if there's anything that offended, saddened, or made you say you're welcome, and apologies. So that is out of the way. But guys, Nebraska just anemic offensively, at least on the ground in the second half, anemic overall. There were some bright spots, but seizure is what comes to my mind, as in Nebraska had a chance multiple times, momentum-wise, to seize this game and put it away. You're up 14-3. You can't do it. That final second to last offensive possession, Moatsy, where you go and you were pinned around the 10. Your punt returner doesn't try and return it, whatever. You secured the catch on the kick, and you do absolutely nothing. 3 plays, 3 yards, a minute 47. Wisconsin able to burn enough time and punch it in with about 35 seconds left. A missed opportunity, poor management, poor execution, and just a brutal fourth quarter for Nebraska. Again, the theme of today, gifts that were given. Braylon Allen, Jack Shoulder out of the game. The final 2 drives with a bad ankle. Harbig is out for being an idiot, not necessarily the most vicious targeting call, but then he runs onto the field, with his helmet off. And then he gets the double secret probation ejection, and Nebraska can't do anything. Jay Lou chimes in. The O-line cost him the game. They had a decent offensive line. They dominate this game. Best day of the year is next week, not Thanksgiving, the end of this Nebraska football season that's been 9 months. Just when we think we can't get any lower, we find another layer of crap to shovel through. Guys, there's been 1,000 tough losses, bad losses. This may take the cake with what Wisconsin did and couldn't do, and what Nebraska was unable to do, and that seize the ball game.
The thing about it, though, when you look at what happened through the first 3 quarters of that game today, I thought Nebraska overall looked pretty good. And considering Trey Palmer was pretty much your entire offense with those 2 touchdowns, I thought things were looking pretty good. But again, it comes down to crunch time. You have a 5-point lead. You allowed Wisconsin to close that 14-3 deficit with a touchdown. Then you don't allow them to get the 2-point conversion, and things look like they're still pretty gravy at this point. But it comes down to being in a crunch time situation, being able to manage the clock with 35 seconds left to try to work some passes to the outer edges, to get advancement upfield, to get out of bounds, to get the yardsticks moved up and get set so you can get everybody up to the line and ready to go for the next play, and maybe try to go for a field goal within reasonable distance. But that didn't happen. Obviously, when Washington caught that one pass from Casey Thompson and he flipped the ball over toward the one official and went over his head, that cost some time there, number one. I mean, hand the official the ball, number one, and then quickly get set up to the line. And then it just seemed like everything from there just fell apart for Nebraska, and they just could not recover. They had to burn both their timeouts they had remaining. And, again, the clock became the enemy for Nebraska in the end. The other thing is the management on behalf of the offense. The offensive line did not look stellar, I thought, in the fourth quarter. I thought for the most part in the game today, they looked pretty good, except for a couple of times where Casey got taken down. But I ultimately think that this is probably one of the better games that they had outside of the fourth quarter. And I think when you get to the breakdown with Nebraska's offense, the defense was a little surprising to me in a couple of cases, especially in the second half, where Wisconsin was able to get the ball downfield and obviously score those touchdowns. Really proved to be pivotal there. And again, the defense kind of broke down there a little bit, I thought. But I thought they also played a good game today as well. But it seemed like the fourth quarter is just one of those times in the ball game where Nebraska somehow finds where they have a lead, they can't hold on to it, or they have the momentum, they give it away. And credit to Wisconsin. They played a great football game in the second half, despite losing your top runner in Braylon Allen, who was banged up with a shoulder and goes down with an apparent leg injury today. I certainly thought, that's where Nebraska could have gone in with the dagger and took it right to that Wisconsin offense and shut them down, but they couldn't do it. So now what do? Well, you play one more game.
Wisconsin's a bad football team. Nebraska is a worse football team. But to lose this game, inexcusable if you're Nebraska, the way it was gifted to you. All you had to do was make a play, one drive, get a first down, get a second first down, ball game. Management garbage for Nebraska. The defense had four trips that Wisconsin crossed into the red zone, 4 trips and 15 points. Yeah, and they got a turnover. Yeah, they got beat on the pass to the back where they had O'Shawn dropping in coverage. Listen, the defense did everything but physically take the football and score a defensive touchdown, and it was just, it's comical. It's comical at this point. Nebraska football, the last 23 games, the last 2 years, 14 games have been one-score games. They are 1-13.
Yeah.
And that is a mentality. That is what this program is, and God love and God bless whoever comes in here next to try and flip and fix this, because this absolutely, this you couldn't have written this, Elijah, but you knew it was coming because Nebraska had chance after chance after chance after chance to put this away because the defense made enough plays to stymie away Wisconsin. And then when the defense had to do it, they couldn't. And the offense has been a bit of a joke, except for Casey running for his life for a few scrambles on first down. Total nightmare today. I'm absolutely shocked, but I shouldn't be, that it went this way against this team in Wisconsin. Found another way to rip Nebraska's heart out.
Yeah, I mean, and you say I'm shocked, but I shouldn't be. And it's because you texted me whenever Wisconsin scored that touchdown to make it 14-9. I said, my 17-16 prediction is still in play. And you said 16-14 is a lot more likely.
Bad guys are going to win this thing.
Yes. And it's because it's 100% true. As I'm driving over here to the radio station to get this thing on the air, I'm listening to that final drive from Wisconsin. And I said, something's going to break here on this drive at some point. And you knew Wisconsin was going to have to pull out a passing play to get a chunk play at some point during that drive. The way their offense,
who do you drop in coverage? You've got O'Shawn Mathis in coverage.
But you, as a Husker fan, just sitting there driving, you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It was 100% expected, where I went, I'm not sure what's going to go wrong here, but this defense is going to have to make some sort of stand because this Wisconsin drive is not going to peter out at the 50-yard line. They're going to get down into Nebraska territory and make Nebraska pucker. And based on what we've seen over the past couple of years, you knew that defense was going to break on that drive. And not just the defense breaking on that final drive,
at the
whole
50.
team broke.
It started at the 50. That's the other part of it. The other part of it is you have a chance, that second to last drive, fellas, where Wisconsin's Harbig gets tossed and booted for running onto the sideline. They have to kick it from their 20. So maybe Nebraska can put together another response drive, aided or not, and their second touchdown drive of the 79 yards, 30 yards were in penalties, okay? You had the targeting, and then you had the roughing in consecutive pass attempts. So you get gifted 30 of the 79 yards. You made a play. You found Palmer wide open, touchdown. No shame there, but it was handed to you. The best linebacker when it comes to sacking the quarterback this year in the Big Ten gets launched. You get it at the 40, holding penalty, back to the 28, and then you start going backwards. I feel sick for Anthony Grant. You had really the interior of Wisconsin's defensive line start to take over. Steven has chimed in on Twitter. Fire Whipple now. He sucks. And another loss because of his damn dumb play calling. The end can't come soon enough. Tattoo 70 on Twitter. Nebraska got what was coming. Mark chimes in from Canada, watching from Alberta. Mark, can you send us all here in the States some Crown? Because I think Nebraska fan could need it today. But we're here at the Single Barrel.
In other
numbers
news,
to
Michigan
get in.
has just taken the lead with less than 15 seconds left against Illinois.
Oh, gosh.
They're up 19 to 17, 9 seconds
19
left
to
on the
17. Numbers to get in here on Real Red Reaction. We're here down at the Single Barrel. Jeff Moats in his studio. Elijah Herbal also in studio. 466-377-6800. 825-5865. This has got to be the worst of the worst.
I would agree with you. This has to be one of the worst losses. And I know we've talked about this quite a bit the last couple of years on this show, that there have been a lot of worse losses. This may have been it. As you mentioned, this was a gift for Nebraska, and they gave that gift back. And they just were not able to find a way to continue to capitalize any way possible when Wisconsin was down for much of the game. And credit to Mertz on that dagger of a touchdown throw that he made that pulled them to within 5 of Nebraska at 14-9. That thing was a laser when he threw that into the end zone. And I think that helped spark some momentum. And, of course, Nebraska can't capitalize on some other opportunities. And Wisconsin gets the ball. They get great field positioning. They make a drive downfield, and then Mertz sneaks it into the end zone from 2 yards. A quarterback sneak from 2 yards out, which to me, I know they were talking about it on the tube today, that they couldn't believe that a 2-yard quarterback sneak play helped Mertz get into the end zone. So what does that tell you about Nebraska's defensive line?
They were gassed
at
that
point.
I mean, they were worn down. They were worn down. And they were worn down. And so, there's a lot of things that we can nitpick at today. Obviously, the fourth quarter in particular is one that really, really does stand out. And then you begin to question. Go ahead.
I was just run. Here's the sobering part of where Nebraska football is and why Wisconsin, despite being in transition and turmoil and just not a good team this year, they're not bowl eligible. 20 years and counting for them. Okay, Nebraska was outrushed today, 235-65. They only gave up a couple of big runs, but Wisconsin just kept chopping wood. Wisconsin ran 70 plays for 318 yards.
Wow.
36, almost 37 minutes time of possession. Nebraska ran 49 plays for 171 yards in 23 minutes and 3 seconds. Nebraska made a couple of big plays on third down. Casey Thompson did a great job of scrambling to get some yards on first down. Wisconsin, for the most part, got in their own way. They were averaging 7 a carry, it felt like, on first down. And then they just hung with it. It's a culture. It's a mindset. Wisconsin's won or been in a lot of races in the West in November, fellas. And the reality is, in tight ball games, they never panicked. They never flinched. They never got loose. Mickey Joseph will have that post-game audio. JP and Meg are at the post-game now.
We have the audio from Coach Mickey whenever we do want it, just to let you know.
Sure. Mickey Joseph said that we were in control of that football game, guys. Wisconsin, for the most part, with their penalties, with their poise, and just with their execution, out of control today. And that's the thing. Like, this is a game where two things can't happen. One, you can't kick a gift horse in the mouth, and Wisconsin already thought it was Christmas. I mean, the way they were giving this game away. Two, you had to just go make a couple of plays. You had to go take it. They're handing it to you. And Nebraska was unable to do it. They were in disarray. And this is just absolutely a frustrating loss. People can't wait for this season to get over, okay? But this is absolutely the final insult to it. Because of how this thing shook out, you lose to this team in this fashion, 15-14. It's mesmerizing.
And I know this one hurts for Husker fans right now, but I do want to give a little bit of credit to Wisconsin for sticking with their rushing attack.
They should have won this thing.
They never should have won it. They found a way to do it. They didn't blink through adversity. And offensively, they stuck with their bread and butter. They kept handing the ball off. They knew that Nebraska defense was going to wear out, and guess what? They did. The Huskers, as Motsi was alluding to earlier, looked gassed by that fourth quarter. Wisconsin was really running the ball with a backup running back at will late in the third quarter and through the fourth quarter. So give credit to Wisconsin. This is what they do. They run the football. They're going to wait for you to shoot yourself in the foot. And though Nebraska didn't truly shoot themselves in the foot, as Schmitty said, they looked a gift horse in the mouth. Don't do that. Wisconsin's going to take advantage just as they did today. They handed the ball off. They made their hay doing that, and they won a November football game in the Big Ten. How you win November football games in the Big Ten. That's you run the ball early and often. You stick with it. You make your hay doing that. You wear out the defense.
You get good at it. You find a way to get good at it. Defense gave up 12 points in the fourth quarter. You couldn't stop Wisconsin when you needed to. Again, familiar theme here. Nebraska's defense did everything they could through three quarters, and you just don't get complimentary football. And the defense, just the levee breaks, fellas. And you saw it in the second half against Minnesota. You saw it in this fourth quarter against Wisconsin. Rock Westfall chimes in. Mr. Whipple needs to get on with his life, working in a stocking, needs to get on with his life's work, stocking Charmin at Hinky Dinky. What a bleep disgrace. Utter wasted opportunity. Leonard saved the best for last. Time to go get Lance Leipold. You have Teresa chime in. Teresa, thanks for checking in. All we had to do was continue to get first downs and run the clock. Epic fail. Sounds so simple, doesn't it, guys, to go get first down?
It does sound simple. I mean, obviously, you see a lot of other football teams have the capability of managing the clock and getting those first downs to run down the clock and hold on to the football. Nebraska just didn't do it today, and they found themselves down late, and they couldn't manage the clock either. You know, you talked about the total offense that Wisconsin had here a little bit ago, and what was it, over 300 yards on the ground for Wisconsin today. And I know this may be a moot point considering – I'm sorry? How much?
260 rushing.
Okay. This may be a moot point. Okay. So this may be a moot point for Mickey Joseph to show Mark Whipple this is how they run. This is how they play Big Ten football in cold weather. Now, granted, there were a couple of nice touchdown passes today to Trey Palmer, but when it comes down to specific situations in the football game when it's cold outside, do you think to show Mark Whipple this is what happens when teams that are down fight back and fight their way through adversity, especially when they're down on the road, and come back and win the ball game. I guess, is that something of a moot point now? Or, since you got Iowa next week, and then after that, it's probably going to be a whole clean slate in terms of the staff?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's a case of Mark Whipple not knowing that. It's a case of knowing what you have offensively. Well, I think it's knowing what you have offensively and knowing, you know what? I know this is how you win football in November in the Big Ten, but that's just not the guys we have. We don't have an offensive line that's going to be able to go grind it out and battle through adversity in the third and fourth quarter. It's just not what you have. You have to turn to your best players offensively, and your best players offensively are Casey Thompson, Trey Palmer, Travis Vokolek.
Let me ask you this, too, guys.
Ran the football 29 times for 65 yards.
That's not good. That's
35
not good.
yards and losses.
That's not good. So, okay, let's look at these programs in the Big Ten. How many of these programs would you say the majority of their players come from colder climates? They're from hotbed football states that are used
in the West. Your linemen in the West come from surrounding areas for the most part.
Okay. And then a lot of your skill position guys probably come from like Texas, California, Florida, some of the other warmer states, So there's a difference. And if you get a lineman that's from one of those states that's in a warmer climate and they come into Nebraska or they go to Wisconsin or whatever, they're not used to this type of climate. That I'm not saying that's a true factor in the case of Nebraska. It very well could be, but you got to have guys that got to be able to adapt to the weather. I mean, I know they practiced outside all day, every day this week, and to just get used to the temperatures because they knew what the forecast was going to be for today. But I mean, you would think at some point that these guys, mentally speaking, could keep that mental toughness and keep it going for at least 60 minutes of football. But I mean, today, that fourth quarter, you went and saw the similar breakdowns that we've seen in past games this year in the past couple of years. Just no consistency, poor management. The play calling, I guess, could be suspect if you want to put it that way. A lot of things were not going the way. Nebraska had the advantage. Nebraska had a chance, as I said earlier, to put the dagger into Wisconsin, and they couldn't do it.
Nebraska is just not very good. They are not good enough to beat Wisconsin, despite when Wisconsin's handing them the football game. The offensive line in philosophy and run game commitment has to do a 180 with the next regime. And then you'll figure out ways to put games like this away. Nebraska's not capable of doing what they needed to do, and that's run the football for first downs when they had to run it for first downs against this defense or about any defense in the Big Ten or in the West right now. And this offensive philosophy is about speed and passing and big plays, and it's fluff. And while it looks fun and can get you a lead, it can't finish a game. And it's very, very simple that you just need to change philosophy. Brennan chimes in. This game came down to the same thing as all the others. Lines of scrimmage, lack of push just kills Nebraska. I've ragged on Hutmacher once this year, but he got pushed back 3 yards on his knees on that quarterback sneak. No reason a guy his size should be getting manhandled. Phil chimes in, losing in typical Nebraska fashion, where they just rip your heart out. Nebraska will never succeed or survive in the Big Ten. That from Phil again. But it's a game that you're just shaking your head as you walk away. Corey chimes in. This is exactly what I expect out of Nebraska. Let's turn the page, people. I need a complete reset. You're going to get another reset, and it needs to work, Elijah.
That's an understatement. Understatement of the year. It's got to work.
I think that's been said. I think that's been said a lot in the last 5 to 7 years with this program, that it needs to work. And so far, we've seen 2 major flops in coaches. And Mickey Joseph has done, I think, a pretty good job considering the circumstances to keep these kids somewhat focused. Now, if you think about this, fellas, Had Scott Frost stayed on along with Eric Shenander through the rest of the season and would have played this game today, I think it would have been much more disastrous. With Bill Bush as a defensive coordinator, Mickey as the interim head coach, they did what they could. They had a lead. They kept Nebraska in the game, but in the end, late, they couldn't finish. And I think that's going to be the legacy of this year's football team, just like it was a year ago in close margin losses. Nebraska just could not find a way to finish. And this is a prime example.
I want to show of hands on Twitter or on our StreamYard here. And you can check in here on Real Red Reaction, presented by Currency and Hail Varsity. We're live here at the Single Barrel and other parts of Lincoln. KFR, make that 96 Kicks Facebook, KFOR Facebook, ESPN Lincoln Facebook, ESPN Lincoln Twitter, Hail Varsity Radio Twitter, KFOR Twitter, and the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel. How many of you Nebraska fans, once Nebraska was up 14-3 and then it turned 14-9, how many of you kept faith that this thing was going to be okay?
Well, you know what?
Or did you flip and say, oh, no, here it comes? There's a few fans on Twitter saying, dude, the worst part about being a Nebraska fan is knowing that it was only temporary, that they were going to find a way to lose this thing.
Well, the thought I keep coming back to, and there's some experience, got an old dog in the house, but it's like that old geriatric dog that you have around the house that the weather gets cold outside and magically that dog starts peeing in the house when it's been potty trained for 14 years. You go, I'm not sure what's going on here, but I should have expected it. Like, I'm disappointed.
It's a smart pop right there, baby.
I'm a little bit frustrated, a little bit disappointed, but at the end of the day, I'm not mad because, like, I expected it. I get it. You're 14 years old. You know what? I probably wouldn't want to go outside if I was you either. Like,
or they go out in the garage and do it.
Exactly. Where you go, you know what? I should have seen this one coming, so I can't be all that mad. You know what? We'll just wait for the next new dog that's not going to do that. We'll have to re-potty train it, but we'll be good. Like,
well,
I still love the dog. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not mad at the dog because it's expected. I love that dog with my heart and soul.
You know,
I'm not mad.
I'm looking at Jeremy's comment here on Facebook. Nebraska didn't wear out that says that they were actually playing the game. The Badgers beat them only because the team quit playing the game after they had a good lead. The coaches can't seem to get these players to actually play 4 quarters of the game. I think that's a pretty good assessment. I'm not saying that the coaches are bad necessarily. It's just I don't think in the last 5 years under the Frost regime that they have been taught to actually know how to finish a football game.
This goes back to post 20. This goes back to 2017. At a minimum, Elijah notes this. Now, you have different voices, right? You've got guys that have been coached up. You've got sound game plans. But eventually, I mean, we were talking this morning, and you want to talk about a match made in hell? Nebraska's new offensive line coach with Nebraska's new offensive coordinator. And it just continued to go the wrong way. And you're not good at running the football. You don't care about running the football. You don't have the talent on the line right now to run the football. So your best choice is to just kind of chuck it around the field. And you're not going to wear anybody out. You're not going to be able to run the football when you have to run it. You're not going to be able to burn the clock. You're not going to be able to hold on to the ball and keep Wisconsin away. Rob chimes in as well. Wisconsin's D-line was in the backfield nearly every play. The O-line cannot block anyone. They look confused, incompetent, outmatched. Whoever is named coach has to bring in the best O-line in the country and pay them to be here. Yeah, that is fine with me, man. Totally. Because Nebraska's got to flip what they are and build to be way better on the line. And eventually, this kind of felt like, as much as it felt like you stole one from Rutgers, fellas, earlier in the year, this was an absolute theft job by Wisconsin, and it's even more so. It's more so embarrassing for Nebraska to not be able to finish this.
I would agree.
But it's par for the course.
Yeah.
Right, but you shouldn't be surprised. You're waiting on Griswold to get punched in the face here. It's Christmas vacation. Okay? You're wait. It's going to happen. At what point in the movie does it happen?
Mm-hmm.
And it's still funny every time you see it. This is sad. This is absolute sad with Nebraska football right now. And I guess the only silver lining is thank the good Lord that this crap is done next week.
To put it lightly, right? There are other choice words. But yeah, I think now, I said this earlier in the week, around the office, that this game was winnable for Nebraska. It really was. And they had a chance. I mean, it looked very much like that this was going to be a game that they could win, especially when you think about it being senior day. You've got, a lot of good group of kids. I mean, they're good kids. It's just that, there's one or two of them that have been in the program 5 or 6 years. And in that amount of time, they will never go to a bowl game. And you hate to see it end that way. And you think, well, maybe we can end the regular season home schedule with a win today, because Wisconsin, they've been fledgling along. They've been going through, the Paul Chryst getting dismissed back in early October. And they're in a similar situation. They got interim playing the best football, but the difference is they've won some games and they're one game away from going bowl eligible. So, they had stuff to lose today. Nebraska really didn't, other than to pick up a win at home to round out the home schedule and have maybe a little bit of a confidence boost going into that road game in Iowa next Friday. But it just seems like it's sour grapes in the end. Really, I mean, there's no other way to.
It's rough. We're going to take a timeout. Numbers to get in at 466-3776 800-825-5865. Wisconsin does it again. Real Red Reaction over the air on ESPN Lincoln, over your different Alpha Media streaming channels with 96 Kicks and KFOR and ESPN Lincoln. We'll take more of your comments.
Do you want to come
back? To more of your Go ahead.
After the break, do you want to come back with Mickey Joseph's post-game presser?
That's where I was heading. We have comments from Mickey, comments from Casey Thompson, comments from a depleted group here, but a quick timeout. If you have something to say, get it off your chest. There's disbelief, but also kind of just a sad quiet right now with how Wisconsin found a way and how Nebraska couldn't close. A quick timeout. Real Red Reaction from the Single Barrel continues. We're presented by Currency.
Husker fans, time to get real.
Real about the Huskers.
Real about every play.
Real about every call.
Get real and say it all without the university muzzle. As soon as the whistle blows, the ESPN Lincoln Real Red Reaction Show goes live with your calls, opinions, and rants.
All uncensored.
Powered by Currency. Watch it live after every game on ESPN Lincoln Facebook and on air from ESPN Lincoln 101.5 FM.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you more of what you love, like premium travel benefits and access to Taylor Swift tickets. Oh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. Plus, get access to Taylor Swift The Eras Tour, presented by Capital One. Maybe I'll see you there. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hi, I'm Dana Schwartz, host of the hit podcast Noble Blood. Join me on my new podcast, Stealing Superman, for a deep dive into the shocking true crime saga of the theft of a priceless comic book from the home of Nicolas Cage. Together with a vigilante comic book dealer, I'll investigate this 4-color crime saga.
Someone targeted this very specific, very talented actor and stole something that is very specific to his interests.
Listen to Stealing Superman wherever you get your podcasts.
Just announced Carrier Cool Cash rebates. Call Willman Heating and Air Conditioning to learn how an efficient home comfort system by Carrier can let you create a healthy, more comfortable indoor environment for your home and lifestyle. With up to $1,750 in Carrier Cool Cash rebates or special financing, explore what's possible with Carrier. Incentives will vary. Ask Wellman for details. Turn to the experts. Wellman Heating and Air Conditioning, your factory authorized dealer for Carrier products. WellmanHeating.com.
The votes are in, and now we know who's best of Lincoln. See for yourself at ESPNLincoln.com. Whatever you're looking for, Lincoln's best winery, best fitness center, best coffee shop, or best sports bar. We've got the winners in over 70 categories. Before you shop, eat, or call for service, check out the full list at ESPNLincoln.com. Who's the best car wash, the best appetizers, the best sandwich shop? Don't guess. Find out who's best at ESPNLincoln.com with the best of Lincoln.
This is Staples.
So, rumor has it that Staples has everything I need to ship.
That's not a rumor. We have all the shipping supplies and services you need.
Boxes?
Yep.
Mailers?
Yep.
And I can actually ship there, right?
We have UPS right here in store.
Huh. What will Staples think of next?
Right?
No, seriously, I'm asking, what will they think of next?
Staples has all your shipping supplies and UPS service in store. And right now, get 25% off UPS Express shipping services.
I hear
Staples,
it's
the
even
best
November,
shipping,
but not
ends
this month.
12/31.
Hey,
Valid
Joe
only in
Clemens here
Staples
from
US
Capital
stores.
City Automax. I'm asking Lincoln to say yes during my Yes Member sales event. Say yes for a nicer, newer car. Say yes for as low as $6 down. Say yes even if you've had credit problems in the past. Drive home a nicer, newer car for as low as $6 down. Don't let the others tell you no. We're giving bad credit the bird. My one and only for the people credit approval process is like butter, because we're on a roll, baby. We take out the mess and the stress and just want to say yes to you. So say yes to a nicer, newer car for just $6 down. Hurry, just like Thanksgiving leftovers, this offer expires at the end of the month. I'm Joe Clemens, and I'm your dealer for the people. Come see us at Capital City Automax, just minutes from downtown Lincoln at 2000 West O Street next to Casey's. Call 975-8925 or online at approvedbyjoe.com, approvedbyjoe.com, www.approvedbyjoe.com.
Subject to approval, some minimum requirements.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing a wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer Wet Jet. With Swiffer Wet Jet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer Wet Jet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. You're driving along and some nimrod cuts you off. You hit the horn. Jeez, it sounds like a goose in distress. Time to head over to eBay Motors. They have horns for every make and model, not to mention horn.
So much Husker and sports talk. It takes two signals to get it done. This is K268DF Lincoln and KLMS Lincoln FM 101.5 and 1480 AM. Keeping it real. The Real Red Reaction Show is uncensored and powered by Hail Varsity on ESPN Lincoln, 101.5 FM and 1480 AM.
Back here, Real Red Reaction continues on. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, Jeff Moats, as we are still a bit, we're not quite speechless. We're not there yet, but
shocked.
There's a lot of venom from Nebraska fans because you've seen this movie, Illinois, Purdue, Minnesota, Wisconsin, all winnable. And right now you're staring at another 3-9 season. Maybe you come back the right way in Iowa City on Black Friday. But Brody is right. Seen this 100 times. Michael says these players have just the worst luck ever. Will the nightmare ever end?
Hey, can I
They're going to try and find the right Mr. Sandman with this next coach.
Can I quickly
Numbers to
respond
get
that
in. We're here
Michael?
as long as you want to vent. 466-377-6800, 825-5865.
And Schmitty,
go ahead.
I know
bud.
we got to get to Mickey Joseph here in a second, but I want to respond to that comment from Michael saying these players just have the worst luck ever. At some point,
You gotta make
whenever
your own,
the
brother.
bad luck keeps coming your way, just to your point, you got to make your own. You got to look inward. It's not always about bad luck. In football, you make your own luck. And if there's a one-off bad luck game, we didn't get the call. Well, that's bad luck. It happens once. Whatever happens time and time again, game in, game out, every single time a game comes down to one score, you're running into bad luck. that's no longer bad luck. That's something you're doing. So I'll just say that at some point, it's no longer coincidence.
It's a you problem, right? It's not you, it's me. The old George Costanza line. I invented it's not you, it's me. It's Nebraska. It's absolutely Nebraska. And whatever fungus is living, it's the stadium. Culture. Commitment. There's a lot of kids who wanted to and tried to, but you can't just expect it to happen poof, right? Switzer always would get ticked off when you ask him about Sooner Magic. Well, it was somebody taking control and making a play. And Nebraska had a chance to close the coffin on these guys. And Wisconsin's just a very desperate football team, down to what? It was down to Graham Bleep and Mertz to go win you the football game, and a third team running back with an inconsistent offensive line. And Nebraska just is flat out what they are, and that's maddening.
Well,
for this fan base.
Big time players make big time plays in big time moments. And there has not been a Nebraska player that stepped up in a big-time moment and made a big-time play in a long time. The last one I can think of is probably Amir Abdullah against McNeese State. The last time I can remember a Husker athlete making a big-time play in a big-time moment. And not coincidentally, I think that's the last great Husker that there was Amir Abdullah. I look back through the past 10 years. I guess it's 8 since Amir's been gone. And I say, who has been a great player that's played for Nebraska? And I can't seem to find one.
You just it was a game of can'ts. You can't get a first down late. You can't get a stop late. You can't beat Wisconsin. So the beer is flowing here at the Single Barrel. The Wisconsin fans are still at a bit of shock here. Nebraska fans right now are. I don't know if you're anymore on this, but we'll take your calls, more of your comments. We'll get to those in a minute. Let's hear. It's been about 45 minutes since Mickey wrapped up. Let's hear what Mickey Joseph had to say here on Real Red Reaction with this loss. A new insult from the Wisconsin-Nebraska Chronicles. 15-14, Bucky gets it handled.
First of all, I want to thank the seniors that played their last game in Memorial Stadium. This is a tough one. You know, to be in control of the game like that. I gotta do a better job of getting them to close people out, and that's going to happen with maturity and doing a better job. Let them take the head off to these kids. You know, just a good character group that's not going to quit. I told them today they're a better football team when the day I met them in December. And we're going to continue to get better day in and day out. And we're going to come back next week and we're going to play hard again and look for a different result. Just didn't happen today. This one hurts.
Ricky, is there anything at the end of the game would you have liked to done that drive different? The one you managed, the one where you guys couldn't get the first down, and you had to punt it right back to him.
Yeah, you run the ball and you lose two. You're just not blocking it clean. So we try to get it in there. Right there. You gotta, like you said, I gotta get him. We gotta teach him to close them out. How can we close them out?
Coach, I know you haven't seen the film yet, but your impressions of the running game or lack thereof today?
Yes, it just hadn't been there. Just hadn't been there. We've been having trouble with it. It's been week in and week out. You got to play with the guys that we have. We can't trade them. So we got to figure that out. That's something that we have to figure out.
Did you guys choose to go? Did you guys the choice for the wind there in the second half?
Well, in the second half, we didn't want to give them the ball and the wind.
How tricky was that wind? Just manage the game flow, when you have it one way and then have it the other way going against you?
I don't think it affected the throws. I thought it was the kicking game that it affected. So we just, with Brian, we say, hey, you got to hit this one. And he caught a line drive on one of them. The wind caught it and he caught a line drive. So it's basically the kicking game that the wind gave us trouble. Throwing it, I thought it was okay.
That field position you had on your last offensive drive before the final minute on repair catch at the 10 or the 11 there, would you like to see him run with that one? Or?
Yeah, it's safe. So it's safe. We don't have a return set up with safe because you're trying to make sure that they don't hit us with a fake. So it was safe. He did what he's doing, what he's coached to do.
Mickey, how would you assess the defense today? They played 70 snaps, just their performance and how it finished, I guess.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of snaps when the team's running the ball at you, because eventually it'll start leaning on you, and that's when you got to play complementary football. We got to get all three phases to go, but we got to keep the ball on offense to give them a chance. So that's not just on them. That's on the entire scheme of things.
What did you see at Casey today?
Well, I thought Casey went out and he hadn't practiced, in a while. And I thought, he came out a little rusty the first play. I think he opened up the wrong way. But I thought as the game went along, he settled down a little bit. He was a little antsy at times, but, I thought he made some good throws. I thought, just any quarterback, you're going to miss some. But I thought he saw it better than I thought he was going to see it today.
Any update on
Buford?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, he's seen the doctor. We'll know more tomorrow. We'll know more tomorrow.
Did you see what happened?
No, they said it was ugly, though, so I didn't see what happened.
You again got pretty big contributions from a couple of true freshmen on defense, Malcolm, Ernest. What do you think about their future and the way they play against that opponent in this kind of environment?
Well, I those kids play hard. Those kids are two really good football players, and you got to make sure we sit down with them. Sit down with them at the end of the season and see what they're thinking. But just two good kids though, so they'll be back to come back next year to get better.
Coach, talk a little bit about the senior group. You touched on it, but since you've known, there's been a lot they've gone through: coaching changes, COVID, NIL became a deal. Talk a little bit about the group since you've known them. Well,
just a great group of guys, great character kids, just great players, and they hadn't gotten the wins that they wanted, but they come in this building every day, never negative, always positive, and they come in here to work, and that's what you appreciate from them. And if that's the type of team that you want a high character team that no matter what, they're going to come in here and give you work. But I take my hat off to them, we're going to miss them.
Coach, it's the first full game with Whipple up in the
Thank you.
That was Mickey Joseph, his post game. We're joined here by JP and Meg from 96 Kicks. As we touched on it, Jeff Moats, also Elijah Herbal, Chris Schmidt here at the Single Barrel. The Real Red Reaction, 466-3776. JP, your reaction. You guys were still in the stadium in the fourth quarter. JP, your takeaway, Meg, you follow for me.
Well, it seems like our defense did everything they could to try to stop Wisconsin, to the point where Garrett Nelson is throwing himself at people to stop him. We just could not stop their running game. Our front line for defense just could not get it done. And then offensively, Coach Whipple was just way too conservative. He needed to try to make something happen. I know we had to throw into the wind, but Casey, what he did throw into the wind was doing just fine. Just got to call the plays. You got to continue to hold that time and move that ball down the field. And it just, again, it's another fourth quarter failure for the offense, and the defense did everything they could.
Yeah, and to piggyback on what JP said, that was a tough press conference, man. I'm such a girl. I was watching Garrett Nelson and Travis Vokalek off to the side, and they were both sitting there, talking with each other, I'm assuming reflecting and getting teary-eyed, and it got me just sitting there watching them. A lot of emotion obviously went into this game, and, yet again, another fourth quarter disappointment. And agree with JP, conservative play calling, and our poor defense, once again, having a quick turnaround on offense, having to make those quick punts on the fourth quarter drive, and defense, again, not getting enough time to, chill. And it's so frustrating. Your heart goes out to these guys, man. And it was the energy walking down from the press box onto the sideline was so palpable at the start of the fourth quarter, and then it just sunk. I mean, it was tough.
You could just feel momentum flip. I thought, quite honestly, that once it was 14-3 and you got that second touchdown, you were in decent shape, but you needed one more drive.
Yeah.
And the fact that Wisconsin was able to go and put a touchdown on the board, they missed a 2-point conversion. They did that, though, even after Harbig was tossed. And then they just kept hanging in. They kept getting 3 and outs. I'm not saying chuck the football into the wind or, have Casey drop back and get strip sacked, because that was a highly probable play that could happen with the way the offensive line played today.
Right.
But you just needed to do something to shake it up, or I don't know. It's easy to sit here, be armchair offensive coordinator, but it just flipped when Nebraska went 3 plays, 3 yards, a minute 47, and here comes Whiskey at the 50. Kicking into the wind. So you just kind of get what you deserve when you can't seize the moment, because Wisconsin is handing out gifts like they're Oprah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Schmitty, I absolutely agree with you. Sorry, JP. We, as we're sitting there watching the fourth quarter unfold, and I mean, Wisconsin knew with what we had for an offensive line, stop the run game, going, that's just such an easy game plan, and a very conservative vanilla play call on offense is just what else? I mean, honestly, what other outcome do you expect? We've been singing this song all season, man.
They were playing to not lose. They were not playing to win, and that was evident as soon as Wisconsin scored. And it's just, that was the end of it. That was where Whipple went too conservative. The defense was starting to wear down. Garrett Nelson looked absolutely spent at that press conference. He gave every ounce of his effort to that game to try to help his teammates win that game. And that defense was exhausted. Ty Robinson looked exhausted as well. And it's just, they did everything they could, and our offense just could. When your quarterback is the leading rusher because you can't get a run game going, that's a problem.
I would agree. And
go ahead, Mozi.
with Mark Whipple, coming from Pittsburgh, where a year ago they had a very successful offense there, and then a year later you're at Nebraska. What changed? I mean, what made you become more conservative? Are you got a 14-3 lead, and then Wisconsin closes the deficit down to 14-9. Then why do you go conservative? I guess that'd be my question to Mark Whipple. Why would you do that?
His response. I'm going to play Whipple for a second. I'm going to put my foot up on a chair here and elevate. But what am I? I'm going to play devil's advocate here. We'll get to your phone calls too. What am I supposed to do? What in God's name am I supposed to do? You want me to burn clock? Fine. Let's hand it off. Oh, loss of 3, 2nd and 13. Okay, let's. What am I supposed to do? Draw play, Ramir. I have 3. It's like he's got Tecmo Bowl run plays. He has 4, right? So now I call a draw. It's and he didn't. But the point is it's 3rd and Holdridge Street, and you've got Weirwolves coming off the edge, even though the best one got ejected for being a dumbass. Okay, so.
Yes.
You're done. You are done. You might as well punt on 3rd down if you're Whipple. He's probably breaking stuff in the box upstairs because he has no answer. He wants to jump out the window, quite frankly. I mean, that's how bad and inconsistent the offensive line is.
Yeah.
How do we not have more plays for our tight end and just do a quick little curl? I mean, just
I totally get you.
Chiefs,
Roll the pocket
all the time. Where if Casey's got to scramble and Vokes does a quick little turn, he's right there to catch the ball, just like a Travis Kelce play. It's you just got to get the yards. And if you're such a great offensive-minded guy, why don't you have an answer? Even when you have no offensive line, why don't you have some sort of an answer? Why can't you scheme something and figure something out?
Yeah.
Let's go to the phones real quick. We've got some. Go ahead, Munson. You're cutting out.
No, I'm just saying I agree with JP. Let's go to Steve, who's been holding on the phone.
Steve, welcome into Real Red Reaction. Thanks. Go for it.
Hey, don't have a whole lot to add. I'll let you guys do the piling on. But I'm kind of curious. What's it going to take to get somebody to ride with you to Iowa City to watch the next game? Or are you calling off the road trip?
I can't call off the road trip, nor will I call off the road trip. It's going to be a trank dart and some duct tape, Steve. I mean, that's what's going to happen for the road trip to Iowa City.
Good luck.
Thanks.
I second that, Smitty. I second that. It's going to be a trip on the trip next week.
I made that road trip over the summer to a wedding, and it's not exactly the most pleasant trip.
You could drive right past the biggest truck stop in the world. What are you talking about? It's the highlight of Iowa.
Golly.
I bet you money they have incredible biscuits and gravy. So I'm looking for some positive here.
I'd rather go to the House of Mud. Thank you very much.
You just do that, Mozi. Let's go to who's with us. Forgive me.
Chris is on the line.
Chris is no longer with us. I think Chris is with us from a life sense. I think he's still alive, but he's no longer with us in terms of the phone lines.
Yeah.
I guess you never know based on that game. You never know.
No, numbers.
Hey, Matt,
real Red Reaction at 466-3776, 466-3776. Go ahead, Muncie.
Matt chimed in on Facebook, says if by chance we get a name announced this weekend, are you going to carry it live on here? Well, let me just say this. Whenever an announcement is going to take place, yeah, we're going to carry it. It's not going to be this weekend.
No, makes sense.
Maybe next Sunday.
It could be this weekend because if it's not one of the coaches that is currently coaching, then it could be him.
Well, then it's Matt Rule. And again, what's the point of going and distracting the final week of the season whenever it's already kind of all hell in a handbasket? What's the point of adding another distraction and saying? Is it going to change anything from a Husker fan's perspective watching the game next Friday? Either you're going to watch it or you're not. I don't think announcing a new coach is going to change anything. So what's the point of not waiting until Saturday morning or Sunday morning of next weekend? That's whenever I'm looking at it, or even Monday morning. If you get past,
I'm thinking Sunday morning.
If
Yeah,
you
I
get
agree.
Monday, the alarm bells go off in my head though of okay, what's going on behind the scenes? How many no's is Trev getting? But Saturday, Sunday, or Monday are your 3 days I think you got to look at in terms of being the days that make the most sense.
I manufacture the most absurd list of people interested in this job after this performance, after this showing. I start leaking that the ghost of Lombardi is interested. I start talking about the fact that Nick Saban just really doesn't like his lake house anymore. I talk about the fact that Lane really misses the hospital he was born in Lincoln. I just start reaching out to every national contact I have if I'm Trev, and I just start this parade of BS. You
Yeah,
know,
I like it. I like it.
thinking Lincoln's really pretty at 30 degrees with 40-mile-per-hour winds on a Saturday. I do something, man, to change the conversation because you got to burn this film. My God.
Well, here's the thing, though, Schmitty. For as bad as today was, just to zoom out, take a bigger picture, look around the rest of college football and how many other coaches that are successful right now were able to get it done in year one. I'm not talking national championship, but I'm talking respectable. 8-4, 9-3. Look at Kellen DeBoer at Washington this season. He has turned them from a bunch of misfit losers into a very good football program in the Pac-12. Yeah. Lincoln Riley at USC. I know Lincoln Riley is the gold standard. I'm going to add Brian Kelly to the list as well down at LSU. They're great football coaches. The reason they're making a whole bunch of money. But look at what those guys are able to do in year one. At the beginning of the year, even for LSU, you thought, okay, well, it might take a couple years for Brian Kelly to turn this thing around. But then he gained steam at the end of this season, has turned LSU into something special. And dare I say, a top 10 team. You can say the same for USC and Lincoln Riley. Already talked about Washington. Mel Tucker a couple years ago with Michigan State. Coaches have been able to find success in year one. And I know Nebraska is an absolute dumpster fire right now. But with NIL, the transfer portal, and by all indications, this might be the craziest offseason of the transfer portal we've had so far. People are saying, you know what? If you watched the past couple years and you thought it was crazy, buckle up. You have not seen anything yet. That's what the early reports are going to be about the transfer portal this offseason. And then just the steam behind a new head coach, I should say. Combine all those things together, Nebraska realistically can be a bowl team next year. I'm not going to go crazy and say they can be a 10-2 team, but a bowl game, it should not be as difficult as the recent coaches at Nebraska have made it look. And with a couple recruiting hits, a couple right guys in the transfer portal, a bowl game should be very, very possible next season. Now, it depends who Trev goes and gets, but to zoom out, for as bad as today looked, other coaches around the country have proven that it's not impossible to get it done in year one with their new program. And that's what the standard should be for whoever Nebraska brings in next season. It should not be, well, this is going to take 3 years. Whoever the coach that is coming in should be selling to Trev is the fact that he thinks he can get it done in year one.
Agree, but here's the reality. 1-13 in the last 2 years in one-score games. There's some sort of poison that is in this program when it comes to finishing. They've not known how to do it because they've not won. So it's going to be ground floor starting point from the man at the podium, the head coach. He's got to instill that it's going to be different and it's not acceptable any other way. You're not going to win them all the time, but you got to win them most of the time. And this is just the latest comedy of how not to finish a football game and close out. You need to go. Mickey's not wrong. His press conference was nails. You got to get better competition. You need to get a better roster. And if someone can't make a block on 1st and 10 because you want to burn clock and the manual says I need to run the football, you got to find a way to do it and do it when they know you're going to do it. Wisconsin kept after it because it was the safer of the evil than letting Mertz try and do it single-handedly, right? I mean, Nebraska won the turnover battle today and scored half of their points off of that, and they got set up at the 38. So it's a mindset, it's a mentality, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what it's got to be. And it's got to be someone who can find talent and develop it because you've had so many missteps. And Elijah, to your point with how the urgency is real with Nebraska that they need to be good soon. I get that. Totally agree with you. But you've got those programs that either drastically underachieved, okay, with Washington, right? 8-2. There's no way they should have been anything below 6-6, but they had been under previous leadership. LSU 6-6 wasn't good enough. They got wayward, opposed to 2 years ago 15-0. I don't know if it's a talent thing for Nebraska or a depth thing. It's a bit of both, but it's also a mentality thing. And those three things, man, that's death to any football program and team. And right now they can't get out of their own way.
I'm going to bring up one final point here. I have to bail out early, but I wanted to bring up one final point along with the lines of NIL and in the coaching, potential coaching change that we'll probably see here in the next week or two. What does that say now for some recent verbal commits to Nebraska? I mean, the signing period is what, December 21st for the early signing period. What is that going to mean that if Nebraska goes out and gets somebody else new and the kids that have verbally committed because of Mickey Joseph see a new hire come in and it's somebody that doesn't mesh with them, how's that going to affect Nebraska in the offseason, transitioning, not only getting with a new coach, a new regime, but also maintaining some recruits that have verbally committed before signing day? I mean, this is going to be an interesting month to see what happens, this transition, whenever it does take place. But, I mean, how important is it going to be to try to maintain those same recruits, whoever comes in and takes over, or if they decide to stick with Mickey, let's just say for the sake of argument, how important is that to keep those relationships handy and make sure you get those commitments to stay with Nebraska?
Well, whoever takes over is an idiot if they don't find a way to keep Mickey and Bush, first and foremost, because they put the recruiting class together. Secondly, I really like, based on their history, the type of dude that Mickey and Bill Bush have gotten into past programs. Okay, they've gotten guys that are winners, they're competitors, they're good football players. So I trust the evaluation quite a bit by both of those guys. If they think this kid can play, then good. I'm all right with it. I'm all right with a guy that Applewhite has evaluated and says he can play football. So to me, that needs to be communicated and trusted by the new person. And you need to be right. And if you're not right, you need to at least get something out of, from a competitiveness standpoint, on the practice field to make guys that start better, right? So I think it'll be okay. But it's vital to me for Nebraska's class, if you like who you have, okay, to keep those two guys I've mentioned for sure on staff as part of the transition, or at least the assurance has got to be believed by the kid. Portal, let's talk about portal for a second, right? What did Nebraska get out of the portal? Casey Thompson was good. I will say he was a good football player this year. Trey Palmer had a lot of wow. Trey Palmer likes to drop a lot of passes in crunch time because he's afraid to get smoked. You have O'Shawn Mathis got credited today with a sack on the intentional grounding. I love O'Shawn Mathis's motor and his talent. O'Shawn Mathis had 3.5 sacks this season. That's carry the one. A lot of money for $650,000 in NIL, allegedly, for 3.5 sacks. That is a sweet ROI if you're O'Shawn Mathis. Okay. What else did we talk about here with the portal? Who else has thrived? You look at Grant. God, if Grant had anyone blocking for him, that poor guy would be at 1,500 yards this year. Instead, he's seeing ghosts, and he's running laterally instead of north and south because he has the best shot of going 1-on-11, he thinks, right now. And then you got A.J. Allen, who got hurt, but, man, he's something to look at. I thought Washington was good and probably underused. So if Nebraska goes NIL, and then I'll shut up, they better make sure they get dudes that can take over a ball game and win that ball game they take over instead of putting up pretty stats.
And let me finish. really quick, Elijah, again, when we go back to the verbal commits, I'm thinking of guys like Malachi Coleman from Lincoln East, who said that, he developed a pretty good relationship with Mickey Joseph. And, if Mickey is going to be retained or if he gets the head coaching job or not, I mean, is that going to sway his decision to go elsewhere? We don't know. We assume he's still going to stay on that path with Nebraska. So, yeah, again, I think this is going to be a very crucial period here between, let's say, now and signing day, December 21st, on where these kids are going to stand officially with Nebraska. So I leave with that. I got to jump out. Thank you, guys. Great show.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, but it's fun to do it this season. We'll talk to you again soon.
And I'll jump in here post-Motzi and kind of piggyback on what he was just saying with the guys that Nebraska has, and not only in the recruiting class, but on the team right now. There's going to be a coaching change. You're going to have to expect roster attrition. There's going to be guys that had good games today, that played well, that were on the field, that are not going to be members of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Give it a month once you get through finals week. They're going to be on their way. There's going to be guys in that recruiting class that are not going to be part of this Husker football team next season. It's simply put, it's going to happen. But the name on the front of the jersey, that N on the side of the helmet, will always be bigger than the name on the back of the jersey. I don't care if a guy looks like he's an otherworldly talent, going to be a top 10 pick. At the end of the day, the N on that side of the helmet will always be bigger than the name on the back. And what I mean by that is the long-term health of this program will always be more important than any one individual player. That's going to happen. Roster restriction is going to happen, but you got to trust that the long-term health of your program is best suited in the hands of whoever Trev Alberts is turning the keys over to. Do you trust Trev Alberts? If you do, you trust who he's turning the program over to, and you trust that guy is going to be able to bring in talent of his own. It might not look like the talent that is currently in Nebraska's class. It might not look like the talent that's on the field right now for Nebraska, but you have to trust that next head coach, that next coaching staff, that they are going to get it right. Just because there's been failures in the past and you've had to hold on to your talent for dear life because you're scared they're going to go, guys like Wandale, guys like insert any talent here, Adrian Martinez, just because you're scared those guys are going to go because of the failures of previous regimes doesn't mean you can't trust whoever Trev is going to turn this over to get it right. So don't get caught up on whichever guys are currently in the class right now. It comes down to the next head coach, less so than the next class of guys that are coming in as a part of a recruiting class.
Numbers to get in here, Real Red Reaction here at the Single Barrel, 466-3776-800. 825-5865. More of your comments here. We're streaming the show as well as being live here on ESPN Lincoln, 96 Kicks Facebook, KFOR Facebook, Twitter for KFOR, Twitter for ESPN Lincoln, and also the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel, and streaming here also on Hail Varsity Radio, at H Varsity Radio Twitter. So Meg was probably getting a bit chilly. JP was outside. Elijah, it's you and me. Motzi had to bounce out. And we'll keep rocking this thing. There's so many layers to this this bloomin' onion. It kind of sounds good right now, actually. But Nebraska trailed for 35 seconds today. That's it. 35 seconds is it. And I mean, let's do a little therapy here for Nebraska fans. And I think context is important, Elijah. This Wisconsin team is damn lucky to get to a bowl game, right? They weren't going to be. I will be shocked if they beat Minnesota, and I'm even more shocked based on Braylon Allen has his left arm hanging just limply because his shoulder's jacked and he's got a bad ankle. So it isn't looking good for them next week against Minnesota. They had to get today. Otherwise, they're not at 6 wins for a bowl game. But, I mean, you look at some of the bad teams Nebraska's lost to over the years. You got to go back to that Illinois team, year one of the Riley era, the mismanagement by Tommy and Langsford on the bootleg heard around the world. You lose that one, only to finish the season strong and find your way to a bowl game. That Illinois team was no good, and it was an interim that was leading them that ended up getting whacked. This Wisconsin team's up there. At least they're bowl eligible, okay? You had Lovey's team in 2019 that pushed you to the brink. You had Lovey's team 2 years ago during COVID that you're wondering how the heck did they come into Lincoln and win. You've had years stacked on one another of mismanagement, and then you're surprised it happened today. But it's just what it is now. That's just what the football program is right now. I'm super negative, and I'm sorry to be that way. But for the life of me, there's no excuse to not win that ball game. You're a 10.5-point dog. You covered. I guess there's an air high five there for us if you took Nebraska in the points. But that ball game is just – it was a putrid ball game because it was uncomfortable conditions. You weren't really good at throwing the football if you're Wisconsin, and Nebraska did everything but close and finish, and that's just the common theme, bud.
It's been the common theme. Nebraska unable to finish a football game, and I mean, what can you say about it? I think we've hit everything that you can hit on this football game today. It's Nebraska had it within their grasp, and they let it slip away. I dare even say they maybe threw it away. It was just shambolic there at the end. That you knew what was coming. Nebraska couldn't get it done. Story of the season, the defense gave you a chance to win a football game. The offense couldn't do enough in the second half. It's dejecting. It makes you go, what the hell is the point of watching this football game on Friday against Iowa, who's currently up on Minnesota right now? And if they win that football game, they're still going to have a chance at the Big Ten West crown up for grabs next Friday against Nebraska, because Illinois lost today. Illinois does hold the tiebreaker with Iowa, but Iowa and Illinois will be tied in the record, with Iowa playing Nebraska on Friday and Illinois playing Northwestern. And anything can happen in the Big Ten. It still looks like Illinois is in the driver's seat to go make it to the Big Ten championship game this year, but Iowa's still got a chance, and they're going to have everything to play for on Friday. They need a win against the Huskers to keep their hopes alive. They need some help, but
I don't know how you come back from this if you're Nebraska.
That's what I'm saying is Iowa's on Friday has everything to play for still. Nebraska, it's the last game with your interim head coach. You don't know what your future is. You don't know what his future is. It's going to be cold weather in Iowa City, and guess what? If you lose the game, you end up at 3-9. It doesn't change anything. It's one of those games where Mickey says these guys are going to be ready to play every single game, every single week. What they love playing football, and he's going to have them ready to go. But Friday's a game I look at and I raise an eyebrow at it. I say, what is this going to look like for Nebraska? What is their reasoning for wanting to
Everybody's
sell out?
when you go around the table on Thanksgiving, and hey, I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for tobacco and alcohol. I mean, go down the list, whatever is important to you. A lot of Nebraska fans are going to be like, I'm thankful that this season's over. I mean, I'm kind of tongue-in-cheeking here, but Evan Flood from Wisconsin just tweeted this thing out, this beauty. Saturday was the first fourth-quarter comeback win for Wisconsin since a triple overtime affair against Purdue in 2018. So Wisconsin, if they're down in the fourth quarter, they don't rally. It takes a special team for them to rally against. And it just another exclamation point here. And it can make you feel really bad as a Nebraska fan. You know what was hilarious? You want to talk about adverse situation? How about TCU? Their season's on the line for the playoff. They're back and forth in it against Baylor. And they have a flat-out fire drill with time ticking down, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They get the field goal kickoff with a second left, and they drill like a 39-yarder at the buzzer to win 29-28. And then you look at Nebraska, who's up 14-3 on a team that's not built to throw the football. It's as bad as it's going to be this season, arguably, or has been in a long time in November, right, for Nebraska and whoever they're playing, wind condition-wise, trying to throw the football if you're down. And it's set up for you, man. All you got to do is shut the door and lock the key. And I belabored this, but That's just two opposite ends of the spectrum here. One side of the spectrum, there's TCU. Yet another side of the spectrum, that's Nebraska football. Quick timeout. We'll take some more. Go ahead.
Really fast here. I just want to close by saying I do believe, I was just thinking here, I'm trying to think of any positives from this football game today. And I thought of one.
It's over.
Well, maybe I thought of two. You thought of two. Well, one is this season's over. You're on to the next one. Hey, let's watch some Husker basketball. But two, Nebraska did get a head coach signed today. It just wasn't for their own program. It was Jim Leonard for Wisconsin. If there is,
they announced that?
They have not announced that, but come on. That was the type of win that Wisconsin, I'm sure, was waiting for. Was everything going against them, and they stuck together, got the way. It makes too much sense right now from the momentum that Wisconsin just got off of that one, and seeing what some of their fans are saying on Twitter. I think Jim Leonard just locked up his permanent gig moving forward today with that win against Nebraska, getting them bowl eligible in a season that early in the year felt like it may have been a disaster. Jim Leonard got that program bought in, got them fighting to the end, got a win against Nebraska today. Nebraska got a coach signed today. It just wasn't their own.
Can we run a little bit of audio? Are we okay with that?
Sure. What do you want?
Time? Let's run some Garrett Nelson and Travis Vokolek.
Let's quickly take a break. Let me get this cut up and ready to go, and we'll come back with Garrett Nelson and Travis.
Okay. Sounds good, bud.
Live free for a year. Being a bit short on cash this upcoming year won't be a problem when ESPN Lincoln pays your rent or mortgage for all of 2023. Imagine what you do with all that extra money. Oh my God. To win, sign up daily at ESPNLincoln.com. Live free in 2023. Powered by Liberty First Credit Union and ESPN Lincoln.
No, no, no. Everywhere I go, I hear no. It's even November, but not this month. Hey, Joe Clemens here from Capital City Automax. I'm asking Lincoln to say yes during my Yes-Member sales event. Say yes for a nicer, newer car. Say yes for as low as $6 down. Say yes even if you've had credit problems in the past. Drive home a nicer, newer car for as low as $6 down. Don't let the others tell you no. We're giving bad credit the bird. My one and only for the people credit approval process is like butter, because we're on a roll, baby. We take out the mess and the stress and just want to say yes to you. So say yes to a nicer, newer car for just $6 down. Hurry, just like Thanksgiving leftovers, this offer expires at the end of the month. I'm Joe Clemens, and I'm your dealer for the people. Come see us at Capital City Automax, just minutes from downtown Lincoln at 2000 West O Street next to Casey's. Call 975-8925 or online at approvedbyjoe.com, approvedbyjoe.com, www.approvedbyjoe.com.
Subject to approval, some minimum requirements.
Geico presents Daily Affirmations.
Repeat after me. We are filled with an abundance of joy.
We are filled with an abundance of joy.
Also an abundance of questions. Good thing Geico has 24/7 claim service to help answer questions and resolve claims quickly.
Good thing Geico has 24/7 claim service.
We're also filled with an abundance of biscuits.
We are also filled with I don't think it works this way.
Oh, and jam. Don't forget jam.
To manifest more Geico in your life, go to geico.com.
For all your printing needs this holiday, Staples has you covered.
I need custom printed holiday cards for my one-of-a-kind business.
Staples has you covered.
It's beginning to look a lot like I need custom party invites. Fast.
I need cards for everyone who gave me a hand this year without spending an arm and a leg.
Staples has you covered with personalized holiday cards and invites. And now save 40% on custom holiday cards and invitations. For everything you need printed, go to Staples, the working and learning store. In-store and online, ends 12/17. Exclusions and restrictions apply.
The Wendy's $3 breakfast deal is here. Get a bacon or sausage, egg, and Swiss croissant, plus a small seasoned potatoes. That's a better breakfast for just $3 in 3 easy steps. 1, wake up. 2, get out of bed. And 3, head to Wendy's for your $3 breakfast deal. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $3 breakfast deal.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast
This
hours.
Thanksgiving, at Total Wine and More, find bourbons and Cabernets that you adore. Our helpful guides are so friendly and nice, the bottle's so perfect and perfectly priced. So gather with friends as you sit down to eat, grateful for all who made Thanksgiving complete.
Love what you find. Always lowest prices at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly, B21.
Just announced Carrier Cool Cash rebates. Call Wilman Heating and Air Conditioning to learn how an efficient home comfort system by Carrier can let you create a healthy, more comfortable indoor environment for your home and lifestyle. With up to $1,750 in Carrier Cool Cash rebates or special financing, explore what's possible with Carrier. Incentives will vary. Ask Wellman for details. Turn to the experts. Wellman Heating and Air Conditioning, your factory authorized dealer for Carrier products. WellmanHeating.com.
The best NCAA and NFL coverage, period. Lincoln's football station is ESPN FM 101.5, 1480 AM. Real Red Reaction following every Husker game. Powered by Hail Varsity on ESPN Lincoln, 101.5 FM and 1480 AM.
Back here, Real Red Reaction here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal. Still a few minutes for you to chime in here as this is another one of many that just will sting. Or maybe you just don't care anymore. You're over it. Totally get that as well. You're just ready for the year to be done. Let's hear from a few players. I think, Brett Bielema is going to have to either get a GoFundMe or pass the hat because he went scorched earth on the officials, Elijah.
That's an old copy and paste, I think. I'm not sure he actually said that.
With Michigan?
Yeah, the post-game comment you just sent me. I think that's an old copy and paste. You remember that was Aisha Curry. Remember that? Whenever the Warriors lost in the finals? And she tweeted out after the game, "I've lost all respect. Sorry, this is absolutely rigged for money or ratings. I won't be silent. I just saw it live." It's an old tweet. I'll go pull it up.
Thank you for saving me. This is just devastating if you're a Nebraska fan and you have a special dislike or hatred for Wisconsin. If you're ever going to beat him, today was the day, Elijah. Think about that. This may be the worst Wisconsin team for sure in 20 years, maybe 25 years. 10 straight losses to these guys. And it was right there for you. Let's hear a little bit from Garrett Nelson and Travis Vokalek here on Real Red Reaction.
Who do you want to hear first?
Let's do Garrett Nelson.
Okay, here's Garrett Nelson.
Yeah, you give the team a lot of juice when you get a 2-point conversion stop. But yeah, thank you. It wasn't just me; it was the rest of the guys. I was just the lucky guy to go hit him. So thank you. But yeah, it gets a lot of juice to the rest of the team. And go out there and get fired up and go out and drive.
Ty said, after you got that stop with 4 or 5 minutes left, you kind of knew you'd have to get one more. Is that how you were setting up in your mind?
Yeah, and then we usually in that time frame, one or two things that happen. We get a couple first downs. They have to take timeouts, and it turns into a 4-minute or 2-minute drill for our offense. And, but just the mentality, and because if you don't prepare to go back out there and you do, then you're not doing well from the start. So just telling guys to be ready, get ready to go, and understand that we probably have to go out there again.
When the team runs it as much as Wisconsin did in these kind of conditions, how much do you even feel that in the fourth quarter as those drives are fired?
Yeah, I mean when you're on the field for that long, and obviously those heavy guys start to lean on you a little bit. I mean, they run the ball a lot, so they lean on you.
That the sneak surprise you on the third and goal there on the 2, or is that
no? That's pretty normal of an offense. Get that close, sneak it in.
How would you evaluate your run defense today?
The 200 or whatever rushing yards isn't ideal what you do. I think we only broke it out. We wanted to eliminate the X plays because he did a really good job of getting north and south, and with the film we watched, and we wanted to eliminate those. And he has that ability to, like you saw break it out of the stack or hit an edge, and we wanted to minimize or eliminate those. But they ran. I don't even know how many times they ran the ball, but when they run it that much and we're on the field that much, it's it adds on just those little runs.
Sure, the loss is disappointing.
how do you balance knowing that you play really hard and having that still be a point short?
It's a great question. Sometimes in life you don't get the things that you think that you deserve or earn. You don't always get your way all the time with life or with football. So there's a lot outside of your control that I can't control or we can control, and you got to realize that. And the things you can, you focus on those, and how do you get better in those and master those. That's kind of where my brain goes to. How do I get better? How do I make other people better in our position group and lead with the things that I can control?
One more here. What's your message to the team going into the Iowa week?
For Iowa, we got obviously have a chip in our shoulder with those guys. So staying together for one last week and cherishing these moments with the seniors and playing as hard as we can for one last game against Iowa.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
That was Garrett Nelson. Great effort from him. 10 tackles for him, 12 for Ernest Hausman. Ernest played a hell of a good ball game. You have Reimer also with team leader in tackles. And defense, Elijah got gashed on the ground. Just, repeated waterfall of just power football. And they bent, they didn't break, they didn't quit, but they couldn't resist when they had to. And a lot of it comes down to that accumulation of snaps all season long, where they're running 20 more plays than you are, and you're on the field, and there's no breather, there's no sub, there's no answer. There's no way to make it stop defensively, where you can be highly skilled or super talented or a workout warrior, crush it on the treadmill, be great at running stadium steps, all those things that we talk about. But football is about body punches. And can you get some help? Can you get some help on offense at just the right time, or even some of the time? And the story moving forward here is this offense this season rarely, if ever, gave the defense help. They never had the defenses back in some of these close ball games and some of these air quote winnable ball games. And they never made or put a drive together to make a play when they had to again, seize the ball game, seize the moment, seize the momentum. That's going to be the tombstone on this 2022 season. It's just one-sided football where the poor defense has been worn down to a nub. It's my math eraser pencil. It's what it is. Always having to fix it. I mean, the defense, look at the rushing disparity, for the love of God. 265 to 65. You're just so anemic and so reliant on big plays. And the topic of portability was very real earlier in the year, and it's so true right now.
And comes down to line of scrimmage play. That's been the nail in the coffin for the Husker football team all year long. Why does momentum slip away? Because your defensive line is wearing down, your offensive line is getting discouraged. When those two things happen in tandem, the other team's going to be able to go steal momentum, because their offensive line is going to start making hay. The running game's going to start getting going. The defense is going to start getting down on themselves, because, those 2-3 yard rushes are turning into 5-6 yard rushes, and they bust out the occasional 15-yard rush, and the defense goes, you know what, we're tired. We need some help from the offense. And the offense gets out in the field, and boom, 3 and out, because you can't run the football. You can't protect Casey Thompson, and it means just awful things. The defense of the opposition gets in a rhythm, and then all of a sudden the momentum is swung well away from you, and you're now staring down the barrel of a gun with 7 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, thinking, what the hell can we do right now to get back into this football game? It's been the story of this season, and at the end of the day, at least from what my eyes have seen, it comes down to the lines of scrimmage, not just offensive line. Offensive line's gotten a fair amount of well-deserved criticism this year, but the defensive line too, they've been getting worn down. They've been getting beat off the ball late in the football game, and you feel for them whenever you get tired like that, because it's not necessarily their fault. There's not enough rotation along that defensive line. But also, it's just, if there is a failure with Nebraska's rush defense, it is the defensive line. Linebackers have been playing pretty well. Hausman's been stepping up in recent games. Luke Reimer's been playing well all season long. It comes down to the defensive line not being able to get off double teams, stonewall double teams at the point of attack, keep offensive linemen off the linebackers. It comes down to the defensive line. So it's the lines of scrimmage on both sides of the ball that have been letting Nebraska down all season long. And that's one of the ways I can explain the fact that Nebraska always seems to lose momentum late in football games. It's because those two units start losing the battle along the line of scrimmage, and where the line of scrimmage is won and lost is where momentum is won and lost as well.
Let's hear from Travis Vokalek, 6-year senior, really talented kid out of Missouri that was at Rutgers and found his way to Lincoln. It's been a Tuesday guest of ours quite a bit this season. One hell of a football player, good dude, and a tough senior day for him.
Like you said, a lot of emotions. Throughout the game, lots of highs, and then at the end of the day, we didn't win the game. Guys are emotional, upset, but it just sucks because it's not a very good way to go out for all the seniors, and there's a bad taste in our mouth for this last week because I thought we had a great week of practice, it's unfortunate, but we're going to learn from it. We still got one more left at Iowa. We all know about those guys. So, like you said, emotional day. It's not a good way for our seniors to go out, but we'll move on from it. One more opportunity with this team, and we're excited.
I know this may be a more reflective question than right after the game. Your offense was clicking pretty good for about a month, and then even parts of today. But it feels like something's happened. Things aren't quite what they used to be. Do you give a sense of what that is? Whether it's the quarterback shuffle or any of that? I'm
not sure. Like I've told you guys before, we trust anybody that goes in there and plays quarterback or receiver, tight end or O-line, running back. We trust those guys. I don't know what it is. There's signs of the offense being really, really good, and then like you pointed, there's times that we struggle. If I knew, I'd tell you, but I don't. So,
Travis, what did you feel? What kind of feel did you get from the offense when you guys went out after their last punt? You had it down at the 10 or 11 yard line, and there were about 3 minutes left at that point. So how did you feel that?
Yeah, in a perfect world, we get that first down, and at the end of the day, the game's over. Is what we really thought. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. And that's our fault. Our coaches call the plays for us. They set us up to execute. We, as an offense as a whole, we just didn't execute very well. Not everyone did their job, and those are the results that happen. So it's unfortunate we had to put our defense in that spot. I thought they played great. I give credit to Gene Ellie and all those guys on defense. They play the rear ends off. They played really well today. So it's hard that the offense had to put them in that situation, and we take full responsibility for that.
When you've lost a lot of close games like you have over the last few years, and you get in a situation like that, or did the guys haven't experienced the kind of success that you like in those moments? What kind of a sense do you get about the confidence level around you? Is it where it needs to be?
I don't think there's any doubt because I know we can do things. I've seen us do it before. So I don't think it's a lack of confidence. I can tell you, everyone right now that ran out of that huddle whenever the ball was on the 10 or 11, whatever, we went out there thinking that we were going to win the game. We had the confidence that we could get it done. So there wasn't any doubt or lack of confidence. It just, like I said, we didn't execute to the best of our ability, and not everyone did their job, and that's a result from it.
Travis, what did you see from Casey today?
Pardon?
What did you see from Casey today?
Yeah, I thought Case played well. He's He's a tough son of a gun. So, I respect him. He's a great dude, great leader. He's got that fire in him. So I thought he played well. I thought he made plays when he could. So I thought he played good.
Travis Vokalek right there, post-game Real Red Reaction here on ESPN Lincoln. Last call for calls at 466-3776, 800-825-5865. More thoughts from you when it comes to the Real Red Reaction stream. And it's been fun all year long. Brennan's like, the bar is pretty low right now. He says next week, Iowa 8, Nebraska 7. Just an early painful prediction. Wow. So there's like two sections here, right? Forget about it. Season's garbage anyway. Let's just get this over with. Give me a new coach. Let's plan for the future. Hope is on the way with whoever it is, because it's not this. Or you're like, dude, if it was ever going to happen, if you're going to break this hex, this streak against Wisconsin, today was the day, because it's as bad a Badger team as you'll see in a quarter century, Elijah.
Yes, sir. I'm working on cutting up Ty and Adrian here. Sorry,
okay,
Adrian.
Gotcha.
Wow, that was a throwback. Casey here, so we can have it for the show. And I believe we have Ty ready to go, and I can have Casey ready here in about 5 seconds if we'd like to run that as well.
That sounds good. Let's hear from Ty Robinson and his reaction to Nebraska not being able to close the deal.
Yeah, I thought we were pretty physical all day with them. We knew watching film that, they were just going to be another offensive line that we faced, and that we had a chance to, beat them. But for most of the day, I say for almost all four quarters, we handled it pretty physical up there.
When they go back to that run 7, 8, 9 times in a row, what does that kind of feel like as a defender?
You start to pick up on keys. You start to kind of understand the details of where what the linemen look like when they're during that play. So maybe you're able to cheat it. I know I was able to a few times today. But if that's the one play they keep gashing us, then we got to be smart on our end to know that's the play coming.
You faced a couple different running backs today. Did they have different skill sets? Did they look different from where you were against them?
Like you asking like the difference between them?
Yeah.
They were both pretty similar. Number 0, he was just a little bit bigger than number 20. They're both great backs, though. We had that respect going into preparation this last week that they were going to be downhill runners and they were going to be physical and tough. But we knew if that we'd hit them and hit them enough that they wouldn't want to be out there anymore. And so, that was our game plan for both of them. They were downhill runners.
You got clipped pretty hard there at one point.
Yeah, we just had a movement call on our end, and I was on the guard, and that left tackle just came and rolled up, which you're not really supposed to roll when you cut. So you rolled up on my shin on the outside of it, and it didn't feel too good. So.
As far as this defense comes, just in terms of tackling and implementing those big plays, especially.
Yeah, like I said, we knew that it was going to be physical. We knew that the start of the end of our schedule was going to be a lot of physical games, a lot of run teams, physical teams. So I think we just kind of had that mindset in our heads that it's going to be a fight every time, and whether we're the underdog or not, it doesn't matter. We're going to come out and not really care what you think. We're going to play the way we know how to play.
Got the big stop with like 4 or 5 minutes left, had a good pressure on third down, and then they reviewed it. And were you talking on the sideline, though, we're going to have to do this one more time? Was that kind of the feel?
Yep. We knew that we were going to have to probably go out there one more time. And, that was fine with us. Like I always say, we're here to play defense, so that's my job, is to get the ball back. Unfortunately, we weren't able to stop them. But, That's what film and review and practice is for.
I don't know in the trenches if you notice it. I mean, it feels like in the press box, a game like this, the wind plays such a factor. Who has it at their back? Could you tell that at playing the game?
Oh, yeah. When Malcolm first intercepted that ball, you could just see number 5 throw it up in the air, and it just died, and it dropped right in his hands. So we knew that was going to be a huge factor, and that it was going to probably be mainly a run game. So it was a huge advantage if you were away from the win, and bad if you were in the win.
Every loss obviously is frustrating. This one's still a little more Wisconsin.
I mean, yeah, every loss I take the same, especially I feel bad for those seniors. I feel disappointed in myself that we weren't able to pull out a win for them. But it's just frustrating to come back every week and put in all this effort and all this time and energy and feel like you're ready to go and then go play 3 great quarters and then all of a sudden split out at the end. We've done as a defense a couple times this year too. So I think that's just kind of the key thing that we need to start or keep focusing on, especially when we get ready for Iowa.
Tyler in his house had 12 tackles. I think that's a great high for him. Did you get a sense during the game that Ernie was doing really well?
Oh yeah, I knew last game. I've seen Ernie grow this whole entire season, and I think he's going to be a great linebacker, great player for us, and a great player for Nebraska. Especially when I seen him last week against Michigan. Just coming down and just hit stick in the running back, and then I seen it a few times today. And he saved my butt a few times too with hitting the gap really fast where maybe I got cut out or not. So he's gonna be a really good player. Yeah, a loss is a loss to me. Whether I don't really know if it's against. A loss is a loss, and I take a lot of ownership in that. If I'm the one playing and we don't win, then obviously I have a factor in it. So, it gets to you though as you go throughout the season, and you just start asking yourself what can I do differently to help us win?
Yeah, last one.
Say it again.
What's the message
Just keep going. We're not out of this fight. We still got 1 game of the season. We need to finish the season. Nobody has this season, which I think has been great of us, of just quitting on us or wanting just to be done or not giving full effort in meetings and practice and stuff like that, or even workouts still. I think that's been a really good thing that we've done as a team, is really glued together and stuck together. And that's what we need to do for this next game.
All right. Thank you.
Ty Robinson, and we'll end the show here with Casey Thompson. Nebraska falls 15-14 to Wisconsin. And what a rally by the Badgers, 12 fourth quarter points. Nebraska looked like they had it in control, and much of the same. Couldn't close it out, couldn't get a stop, couldn't get a first down, couldn't burn the clock, some management issues, and overall, that's Wisconsin's first come-from-behind win in the fourth quarter since 2018. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal as Currency, providing you Real Red Reaction. So much feedback here on the stream, which is incredible, but much of the same tone, Elijah. Frustration, anger, disappointment, but really, dare I say, not overly shocked. You're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. A lot of times with Nebraska football in this current nightmare era, and the good news here is you can at least change the conversation with a new coach here in the short term, presumably.
It's a never-ending nightmare, and I'm just ready to wake up. What the hell?
I get it.
It's one of those points where you just go, literally, you put your palms to the sky and say, what the hell is going on? Nebraska, it feels like, needs to have a significant talent advantage on any team that they play if they want a chance to win right now. Nebraska and Wisconsin, based on the eye test today, were pretty evenly matched. In that Wisconsin won the line of scrimmage. I think Nebraska won the skill position battle. Nebraska had a better quarterback. Nebraska, I thought, had better wide receivers today. Nebraska's defense, I thought, and from a back four perspective, outplayed Wisconsin. The front seven was probably a wash each way. I think Wisconsin's offensive line was just better than Nebraska's offensive line. So the game today felt like a wash in terms of talent. And whenever it feels like a wash in terms of talent, that is a recipe for Nebraska to lose a football game, which is an indictment upon the past 4 years. It's an indictment upon the coaching staff. It's an indictment upon the development over the past 4 years. And really, though I hate to say it, it is an indictment upon Mickey Joseph in his time as an interim head coach. He's done his best. He's handled a tough situation, but simply put, he's just not ready to be a head coach right now. And that is not breaking news to anybody. I think Trev said as much without saying it during his radio appearance earlier this week. It's the question now becomes less what happens against Iowa on Friday and more what is happening behind the scenes with Trev Alberts. Where is he going? What is the next name going to be?
Last thoughts here from Casey Thompson, Real Red Reaction from the Single Barrel.
Casey, what was the hardest part about being away the last 2 weeks?
Watching from the sideline. That wasn't easy. Not being able to strap up and practice for a few weeks is not easy. Really just watching the game from the sideline and even from home. And the hardest part was the first. I think we played against when the team went to Michigan, and then we played against Minnesota at home. That was my first time ever in college not being on the travel squad, so that was new for me. They were like Friday night after meetings and stuff, you can go home. So that wasn't fun. I didn't really know what to do, so I just watched TV, watched film. And then, not being with the team, coming to the stadium, was a couple games that I was out was the hardest part. And then the hardest part is finding the balance of leadership, but also, letting those other guys, take some ownership, Chubb and Logan, when I'm out. So when I go out to practice and when I'm on the sideline, I still try to encourage and be a leader to the offense and to the rest of the team, because I feel like that a true leader has value even if they're not participating. So that was the hardest part, was just not being in the fight, not being in the bunker with the rest of the team and the rest of the guys. But other than that, I guess I just try to stay positive. I focused on treatment and rehab, and I got back as soon as possible. I was trying to tell Mickey, every week I can practice, I can go. And, they just had to make a decision and say, no, we want you to stay out, and we don't feel comfortable putting you back there. So I thought I was going to be ready to go last week. I threw like last Wednesday or Thursday, and I wanted to make the trip to Michigan, and I wanted to play in that game. And then over the weekend, I was still having some problems and stuff, with my arm and elbow and my nerves and stuff like that. So I think we played at the right timing and we made the right decision. But the hardest part was just not playing, for sure.
When did you get the feeling like back in your pinky, or I guess when did you feel like you, again, after, not being able to feel?
I still don't have complete, I don't have complete feeling in my pinky or the bottom side of my hand. So basically these two fingers and all this right here kind of goes numb and tingles a little bit, but I have full strength and motion back. It's just something that's going to take time. I think we played Illinois on October 29th. And at halftime, I didn't have feeling again. I didn't have any movement for, I think I got the movement back after 4 or 5 days. I started to be able to move my fingers. And then I actually had an elbow contusion, which is a bone bruise and a lot of swelling and stuff. And that took about a week or a week and a half to go away. And I don't know, this past week, I went in there on Monday and I said, I'm practicing this week and I'm going to play. I mean, if I sit around and wait for my arm or my body to feel perfect, I think the season would be over at that point. So I'm just going to continue to rehab and get treatment and push through. Like I said, throughout the season, I've pushed through a lot of stuff, and I know just looking around at the locker room, there's guys on the scout team, there's guys freshmen, redshirting, seniors, everyone's banged up. People have ankles and hamstrings and knees and shoulders and elbows, and so I just figured that because of my love of the game and because of my love for this team, I wanted to come back and play.
You were the leading rusher today for you guys. So that means that the normal run game where you just hand it off wasn't going very well. What did you see when you would hand the ball off to Anthony most of the time?
When I was handing it off to AG, I felt like that, the best thing he could do was try to get north and south and stick his foot in the ground. Running lateral against teams like this is not going to be good. But there were a couple. We had opportunities for big plays. There were some gaps, and I think that he could have creased a few of them. But those, you could tell that the Wisconsin players are definitely strong, and they had a lot of size on them. So it was just hard for him to run through those arm tackles. But like I said, I didn't see a whole lot throughout the day, but there was a few times where I thought he'd break it big and maybe score a touchdown or pick up, a big game. But he's doing a good job. He's doing the best that he can. And, I didn't come into this game planning on running that much, but when they're only rushing 3 or 4 or 5 people and they're dropping the linebackers out, and I'm looking downfield and I'm like, oh shoot, there's nobody right there in the middle of the field in front of me. So I just take off and I pick up 5 to 10, whatever I can get, and try to be smart about taking hits. And I kind of know from playing football for a while, like having a good feel and instincts of like when to slide and when to fall forward and stuff like that. So, I usually just know how to fall with the hits, and that way I'm not taking the direct shots and kind of draw some penalties. So I felt good and I felt in rhythm today. And like I said, Anthony Grant is doing a good job as well.
Casey, I know you have time
in a game like this to be able to have a running game you can rely on.
Yeah. Well, in the Big Ten, especially, this conference has taught me a lot. It's a lot different than the Big 12. There's a lot of possessions in the Big 12, but in the Big Ten, there's good defenses and there's really good running backs and running game. And Wisconsin, all they did was they ran the ball. I think they threw the ball like 1 or 2 times in the whole first quarter. So when you play against a team that is going to run the ball a lot and they want to manage the clock and they have a good running back and a good running game, it's also important for us to be able to sustain drives. I wouldn't necessarily say it has to be 100% on the ground, but we just have to get first downs and move the chains. And we did a good job of that. I think they had almost double our plays, but we were still winning the whole game. So that means we were more efficient with less plays. But especially throughout the third and fourth quarter, a long game like that, it's important for us to have a run game. it all starts and ends up front with the offensive line, and we have to be able to sustain drives. And whether it's a run or pass play, we got to be able to, like I said, just get first downs and put more points on the board.
I know you have time to decide this, and there's a lot unsettled. But since you walked today with senior day, where's sort of your mind at with that? I guess right now.
Yeah. Well, last year, this is my 5th year, but last year, Texas was my 4th year, and I graduated with my undergraduate degree last year, and I contemplated walking or not, not knowing what I was going to do, and because I was technically a senior, and I ended up not getting a lot of the senior benefits and some of the stuff. Like they're just now like sending me my Letterman jacket and my T ring and my diploma and all that stuff. So I'm graduating with my master's in a few weeks in December, and this will be my 2nd degree. And like I said, with the season still going on, and with a lot of uncertainty right now, I just thought it was best to go ahead and walk on senior day, and then just take my time after the season to evaluate everything and see where my head is at, and kind of see what the situation is and everything going on around me. But this doesn't mean I'm 100% leaving. Doesn't mean I'm 100% staying. I'm just going to wait till kind of postpone it to the end of the season and make my decision then. Like I said, there's a lot of different factors and things that go into play with that. But technically, I am a senior, so I wanted to walk on senior day and experience that in Memorial Stadium. And then, like I said, if I happen to be back, and then I'll walk again next year. So there's really not too much thought process that went into it. It wasn't like a tactic or anything. It's just because I'm a senior, and we had 30 or 31 seniors walk, and a lot of us still have eligibility remaining. So we might have a lot of guys come back, but that was just my decision to partake in senior day this here in Nebraska.
Casey, all right. I was just going to ask, how do you think you played today?
Well, first game back, I had a great week of practice. I was throwing the ball really well, scrambling, running, using my legs at practice. And I don't know, I wanted to come out today and compete. Really positive on the sideline with my teammates. And I took care of the ball today. I made some plays with my legs, made a lot of good plays throughout the game. But we have to be better on third down on offense, and we have to be able to put more points on the board. That starts with me. And I know I'm the quarterback, and I'm going to take the blame if we win or lose. So, like I said, I think I played a pretty good game, and he did a good job taking care of the ball. But at the end of the day, we didn't win the game, and we had to put more points on the board. So I'm going to reevaluate myself and the rest of the offense, and I take all ownership and accountability for that as well.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
That is Casey Thompson, Real Red Reaction here on ESPN Lincoln. Also our 96 Kicks Friends Facebook, KFOR Facebook, and streaming on Twitter with KFOR, ESPN Lincoln, and the Real Red Reaction Show YouTube channel. You can follow also at Hail Varsity Radio at H Varsity Radio. That's where we're streaming. We're going to shut her down here as Nebraska falls to Wisconsin 15-14. A furious 12-point fourth quarter rally. And you can't you can't make this stuff up. You can insert whatever word you want for stuff as Nebraska falls now for a 10th consecutive time to Wisconsin. Elijah, let's put a bow on this thing. Junior, how many people did you have to kick out? Nothing. Okay, so apparently people are resigned to this fate. It's going to go wrong at some point. But we'll have plenty more for you at 4 on Monday with Hail Varsity Radio. And then Black Friday, noon to 2, road show in Iowa City. Yay. Woohoo. Now, I know Iowa Russ is going to be jacked because Iowa right now is poised to take down a West title. They're working on it anyway.
They still need a little bit of help, but that's not here nor there. I think a lot of Husker fans are looking forward to the announcement of the head coach and maybe checked out for that Iowa game. But what I'll say and what I'll put a bow on this show with, at least from my perspective, is better days are coming. There is trust on my end of what Trev Alberts is doing. I think the coaching search and how he has handled that is all the proof you need that Nebraska has the right man at the helm right now at the athletic director's role. His appearance on the radio show earlier this week further cemented it for me. Nebraska has the right man in charge. I personally have confidence that Trev Alberts will make a hire that will improve this Husker football team greatly. And I will just leave this show at the fact that today sucked. Black Friday may suck a little bit more, but better days are coming.
I don't know if it's possible to suck more than today based on...
I've said that so many times over the past 2 years. Do you know how many times the past 2 years I have said, man, I don't think it can suck more than today.
It's not going to get any worse.
This is rock bottom.
It's not going to get any worse.
And then it does.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. The football gods say, hold my beer.
It's they're going Lee Corso, not so fast.
Absolutely. Can check the show out. This will be posted for you on the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel, and the pod will also be up there on ESPNLincoln.com. Big thanks to JP and Meg and Motzi for checking in. Elijah, good stuff as always. And we'll talk to you on Monday with Hail Varsity at 4 on ESPN Lincoln. And also Currency for all your equipment financing needs. Go Currency. They helped make this possible. So long. Have a good rest of your weekend. And we'll talk to you Monday on ESPN Lincoln.